Hello, I pray that your weekend was filled with spaces and places of joy, of peace, of happiness, for those of you who are mothers or mother figures or had any opportunity to mother someone either by birth or by design, that you had a wonderful day. And for those who yesterday may have been problematic, I'm sending you virtual hugs. Today I posted something about changing the narrative, going back to the places that had caused you to cry and now laugh, going back to those places that had caused you to cry, where you cried, and now you can laugh. And I want to share a brief story. As you can see, I'm out here on the walking trail. You can hear the water that is flowing, and this is my place of peace. And so what happens with this story, many of you know if you've read my book or followed me for any point in time, I was molested for a number of years, beginning at age 9. And as a result, particularly of how I was molested, the circumstances of which it occurred, what I learned because of my first introduction to sexual behavior, I learned to be a passive participant. At 9, I had no idea what sex was or what was happening, and so I was passive. I probably was in shock. I don't have clear memories of all the occasions, but I have memories that are very specific. So anyway, to get back to the story, now fast forward to I'm in high school, and I have moved to the DMV from New York, and I am attempting the 10th grade for the second time. And some of you say, what do you mean attempting the 10th grade for the second time? Well, again, I was introduced to drugs and alcohol very early on. And so instead of attending the 10th grade the first time, I what they call hook school most of the school year to hang out with my friends, to engage in all types of behaviors. But anyway, my second attempt, I was now in the DMV, and I was going to the school, and I don't remember how I met this guy or what the guy's name is, but what I do remember is each time I was with him outside of school, somehow or the other, I became a passive participant. Not a willing participant, because it wasn't something I was like, yeah, let's do this, but a passive participant. And so now let's fast forward to me being an adult, gone through therapy, have gone through healing and restoration, have dealt with the feelings, recognized behaviors, wrote a book, yada, yada, yada. But one of the things I noticed the last couple of years, if I drove a particular way from home, if I was in DC, I would pass these apartments where on one occasion I was a passive participant. And I noticed it was triggering for me. I would feel something boiling in my stomach. My palms would begin to sweat. I would begin to be afraid. And so what I would do is, when I would go that particular way, if I was in that particular part of town, I would go out of my way to take a longer way home, not to pass those apartments. And so what I decided to do was, I am no longer going to allow these inanimate objects, this building, these memories to have control over my life. I want complete healing. I want complete freedom. And so I began to do some work on that. I began to write about that. I began to journal about that. I began to pray about that. And guess what? Now I can drive on that street, past those apartments. I still notice them. I still remember that something happened there, but I no longer have the physical response to it. I no longer am triggered. I'm no longer afraid. I have changed the narrative. And I encourage you, that's just an example of changing to the narrative. Many of us have encountered situations. It may not have been a trauma. It may have been a bad relationship. It may have been circumstances that you still get triggered by. When you think about it, it still has a visceral effect on you. But I want to encourage you to change the narrative, to go back to that place and you now reclaim your power. Go back to that place and you now reclaim, you take back what was taken from you metaphorically. And I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, there will be freedom. There will be a sense of power. There will be growth. There will be healing. There will be restoration. And you know, if you followed me at all, that that's exactly what I want for each and every one of you. Healing and restoration. So I invite you, those places that made you cry, go back there now and laugh. Reclaim your power. Love you much, and I will talk with you later. Bye-bye.